Hello, boys and girls. Today we're going to be doing section 4.8, which is applications and models. I'm going to be starting off with our first example checkpoint on page 326, and this is basically solving a right triangle. A lot of the stuff in this section is very reminiscent of integrated math 2. So believe it or not, you have learned it. It's just been a while, okay? Way back in integrated 2. So it's a lot of geometry stuff. Well, it's technically trig, but a lot of the stuff you learned back in integrated 2. Okay. All right, so let's get started. Here's the example. And again, the directions are basically to solve a right triangle. So whenever they ask you to solve a right triangle, that basically refers to solving all the missing sides and all the missing angles. So a triangle has 3 sides and 3 angles. Okay. So here's a picture. We have angle A, B, C, and side lowercase a, lowercase b, lowercase c. Okay, so basically they pretty much want you to solve all the sides. Okay, and so I'm gonna, just to not confuse like lowercase and capital, I'm just gonna call C A B. I'm going to call lowercase a B C. And then I'm going to call BAC. Okay. Now, of course, out of the 3, we already given AC, which is 15. Okay, so we have that one solved already. And then, of course, we have 3 angles. So we're going to solve for all the missing angles. Okay, so we have angle A, angle B, and C. Okay, and usually when we solve for an angle, we're looking for its measurement. So we want to write a little m, and that means measurement of angle A, measurement of angle B, and measurement of angle C. And based on the picture, we're already given angle A, okay, which is 20 degrees, okay? All right, so, okay, so I'm going to make this pretty easy. If I had a choice to solve for missing sides or missing angles first, I would actually solve for angles, okay? So if I had a choice to solve for angles or sides, I would go with angles. And I'll tell you why. We already know that one of the angles is 20 degrees, and this is a right triangle, so we know that angle C is going to be 90 degrees, okay? And then we know that all 3 angles in a triangle add up to 180. And these 2 angles should be acute. So if angle C is 90, that means these 2 should be complementary. That means these 2 should add up to 90 because 180 minus 90 gives you 90. So A and B should add up to 90. Basically, I'm doing mental math. So angle B should be 70. Okay, and if you add all 3, they should add up to 180. So you can pretty much do that like right away. Okay, all right, so here we go. Now for the sides, you're gonna stick to trigonometry, okay? Because whenever you have 2 missing sides, you want to go with trig. You can also use Pythagorean theorem, but you can only use Pythagorean theorem if you have 1 missing side. Okay, so here we go. Since we have one side, which is 15 right here, and 1 angle, this is going to be my opposites. And let's just suppose we want to solve for this one first. So this would be, oops, and I always make a mistake every single time, and this is just me going so fast because in my head I meant to write opposite here and adjacent here. Okay, I apologize. Okay, so out of all the trig ratios, the one that uses opposite, sorry, I keep hitting my my phone. Opposite and adjacent is tangent. So what I would set up here would be tangent of angle 20 equals opposite, which is BC, over adjacent, which is AC, and that's 15. Okay, and our goal is to solve for BC. Okay, so take my advice right now. Although this one's going to be simple, I always write them as a proportion. So basically I put it over 1, okay? Sometimes your unknown may be at the bottom, and writing it as a proportion always helps. But in this case, whenever we solve for proportion, we're just going to cross multiply. So you cross multiply this way and this way. So what you're going to end up with is BC equals tangent of 20 degrees And then I'm going to put in parentheses times 15. Okay. So this is what it looks like. Now, when it comes to this, I'm going to use the calculator. Okay. So when you have your calculator, make sure that it's in degree mode because we're working with degrees. Okay. So now we're going to plug in tangent of 20 times 15. Okay. And it's going to give, it always gives me a really long decimal. I don't care for it. If they don't specify, I always like to stick to about 2, okay? Or even 1, depending. Like, for example, this one didn't even give me any decimals. So, you know, I'm just, you know, I could stick to a whole number if I wanted to, okay? So they don't specify. It's just a matter of preference, to be honest, okay? But to be honest, when in doubt, I just go with 6. I'm sorry, 2 decimal places. See, I'm already thinking ahead. 2 decimal places. So I'm just going to say approximately 5.46. Okay? All right, so now we have to solve for BC, the hypotenuse. And at this point, you have a choice. I could do Pythagorean theorem because now I have 2 out of the 3 sides, or I could stick to trig. I like trig, so I'm going to stick with trig. Okay, so here's my next one. Ready to find BC. So now I'm just going to use these 2. Okay, so this would be adjacent, and this is hypotenuse. So what am I going to use? I'm going to use cosine. Okay, so this is going to be cosine of 20 degrees equals 15 over... And I'm just going to write AB, okay? All right, so here's an example of where your unknown is at the bottom. So I'm just going to put it over 1, okay? Cross multiply, okay? And what you should have technically is 15 equals cosine of 20 times AB, okay? But we have to solve for AB, so then you're going to divide by cosine. So basically what you're going to have is, let me write it, 15 over cosine of 20 degrees equals AB. Okay? And it's not until I get to I isolate my unknown that then I use the calculator, okay? I don't use the calculator sooner than that, to be honest. So here we go. So 15 divided by cosine of 20. And it's 15.96. And since earlier I had 2 decimal places, I'm going to stick to 2 decimal places as well. So 15.96. Okay. And again, that's it. That's you solving for all 3 sides and all 3 angles. Okay. All right. Awesome. All right. Let's try one more. Okay. So here's my next example. By the way, if you're someone who's like, okay, I remember this, I know how to do this, this is easy, then you can just try it on your own, fast forward to the end and get these solutions, or you can go ahead and try the now you try, okay? So you can try an example on your own. So you don't always have to watch the entire video, okay? All right, so basically the directions are the same. We're going to find all the missing sides, all the missing angles. If you notice, again, we have a right triangle. We have one angle A, which is 40 degrees, one side, lowercase b, which is 27, or what I'm calling AC. I actually prefer like calling them by 2 versus 1 letter, to be honest. Could you call it how they give it to you? Absolutely. I just prefer calling it like this. So this would be side AC, side BC, side AB. Okay. So that's just a matter of preference there. Okay. So once again, I'm going to stick with the angles because I think it's quick to find. So right away, I know that angle C should be 90 degrees. So that's that. Okay, so that's 90. And remember, there's so many ways to this. The triangle sum theorem basically says all 3 angles have to add up to 180, excuse me. So 40 plus 90 is 130, plus 50 should give you 180. And also the remaining 2 angles should be complementary to each other. Okay, they're acute and they should add up to 90. So that's quick, okay? And now it's just a matter of finding these 2 sides, okay? So I'm going to stick to trig just because I prefer trig and I like trig a lot, okay? So again, if this is my referenced angle, right away I should say opposite adjacent, and hypotenuse. If you label the sides right away, it makes it easier to work with, okay? That way you don't have to worry about that later because we're using the same angle of reference. Okay, so let's just find BC first. So opposite and adjacent, that's tangent. So tangent of 40 equals opposite. So BC over adjacent, which is 27. Okay. Whoops. Let me bring that up. So again, trust me when I tell you, make it into a proportion. So we're going to multiply, cross multiply. And this one's pretty easy because when you multiply, you'll get BC by itself. So BC equals tangent of 40 degrees times 27. And again, I will put this in the calculator, okay? So tangent of 40 times 27. And that's going... I did something wrong. Can you tell? I used inverse and I didn't notice until after. Okay. Tangent of 40 times 27. Okay, so that's going to give me approximately, and again, I'm going to stick to 2 decimal places. So approximately 22.66. Okay. So BC 22.66. Okay. You can always do Pythagorean theorem and check your answers to make sure they become accurate, but also remember that AC should be, AB should be your longest side, okay? All right, so now I'm going to work with AB, and I'm going to go ahead and stick with these two as well. I always work with whatever's given, so that way I don't get them wrong, okay? So 27 is adjacent, and AB is my hypotenuse, so that's going to be cosine. So I think I ran out of room down there, so I'm going to do it here. So cosine of 40 degrees equals adjacent, which is 27, over hypotenuse, which is AB. Okay. Here's kind of another trick. You could put the 1 underneath, but basically when you cross multiply, you're going to basically just switch these two, okay? Again, it's a trick. If you don't get it, you could just, it's like a shortcut. If you don't get it, just cross multiply, okay? But I already know this trick, so basically we're going to have AB equals 27 over cosine of 40, okay? And that's what I'm going to put in the calculator. So here we go. 27 divided by cosine of 40. And that's approximately 35.25. Okay. And my answer seems to make sense because, again, AB is my hypotenuse. It's bigger than each of these. Okay. So, again, if they ask you to solve for a right triangle, you're solving for all the missing sides and all the missing angles. And that's it. Pretty simple. Okay. All right. So, now go ahead and try an example on your own. Check your answer. And if you're good, then move on to the next video. If you need help, come see me in the chat.